if you have made all those diet changes, done all the detoxes, added all the supplements, and your child's gut, immune system, brain and nervous system are still a mess, well, then you know for sure that something is missing. Your mom and dad gut, before you rolled into this episode, you knew it. You're more frustrated than ever before because it's absolutely just exhausting to do all this stuff for your kiddo and not see the full, complete healing you've been praying for, searching for, and hoping for. Welcome to the Experience Miracles podcast, where we help parents find hope, answers, and drug-free help to overcome your child's chronic health challenges. I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be sharing my experiences as both a dad and a doctor on every episode. I can take the latest science and neurology of healing and break it down in the most simple and relatable way possible. We'll take on the toughest topics and answer your biggest questions through interviews with other amazing parents and leading experts, leaving you with practical action steps that you can take to help your child heal and thrive. It's time to expect and experience miracles. Let's get started. All right, parents, imagine this. You've meticulously planned your child's diet, eliminated all 300 plus food allergies and intolerances, gone through multiple detoxes, and have over half your kitchen counter space taken up by supplements, vitamins, herbs, homeopathic remedies, essential oils, and so forth. And yet, your child's chronic health issues still persist. Your journey likely first began by running into dead end after dead end with your conventional pediatrician and the traditional medical system, where specialist after specialist just kept blaming genetics and bad luck and prescribing your child more medications and more therapies. So from there, you went head first and full force into Google, natural and holistic Facebook groups, and started following every functional and integrative health expert you could on Instagram. With all sorts of excitement and renewed energy, you have awesomely turned your entire family's health plan and lifestyle upside down. You've not only banned dairy and gluten from your house, but if you so much as hear someone say the words seed oils, you'll lose your mind. And you once slashed another mom's minivan tires for accidentally giving your child Cheez-Its. Might be joking, but we're getting close. So rockstar moms and dads out there, if you are listening to this podcast right now, as you pull weeds from your beautiful organic garden, you started to feed your own family good food, or as you lay down for the night on your mattress made of mashed avocados, organic, of course, please know this, you're freaking awesome and you're on the absolute right track. For 15 years and for the rest of my life, I've told anyone who will listen this simple truth. Kids and chemicals do not mix. We should do all we can to keep chemicals from going into our kids' bodies, and sadly, those little suckers are everywhere in today's toxic world. They shouldn't be ingested, inhaled, or injected because once chemicals get into a child's body, they absolutely wreak havoc and mess with the gut, the microbiome, the immune system, their nervous system, their hormones, and so much more. But speaking of more, what if you've already removed every chemical and toxin from a 100-mile radius of your home, cleaned up your child's diet, added $1,000 of supplements and essential oils, and are doing everything you can to restore your child's gut, rebuild their immune system, and address inflammation? What more could be missing? We couldn't be bigger fans of you as a rock star, researched it all, tried it all, seemingly do it all moms and dads out there, and yet we know that having done nearly everything you could think of and more, you're still frustrated, maybe more exhausted and confused than ever before because it feels like you've already done it all. You were told to remove all those toxins, clean up the gut, and combat inflammation, and the healing would kick in and happen. And for many kids, it does. And perhaps for your child, you've already seen some really good improvements in a couple of key areas of their health by doing these diet changes, detoxes, and adding all those supplements. But again, for the vast majority of families we meet today, there's something more missing, and they know it. You can feel it in your mom and dad gut as you stay up late at night searching for what we call that last hope card. Well, Mom, I'm glad you did not give up hope and that you did not stop searching, because this podcast episode right here, we will dive deep into exactly what that long lost missing link is and how to heal the gut completely. And truthfully, we're going to go way deeper than even the gut, the microbiome, and the gut-brain connection. We're going to go straight to the most obvious yet continually overlooked root cause and absolute key to healing for your child: stress, dysfunction, and dysregulation of their brain and nervous system. Let's dig in. Let's nerd out. Let's keep it crazy simple and crazy actionable for your family. And I kick off, or I guess I should say finish, this introduction to this incredible episode by telling you this. The fact that you've done all of these wonderful things to clean up your home, clean up your child's diet, combat inflammation, work on gut restoration, so on and so forth, means that full, complete healing is just around the corner for your child. When we revealed this one thing that nearly every single child I've met in 15 plus years of clinical practice needs more than anything else, it works infinitely, exponentially better when applied to a child, to a family who is already living healthy, who is already living clean. So I need you to hear me as we go through this and really get started with this episode. All that hard work, all of that time and research and money spent to get your child healthy through diet changes, detoxes, supplements, essential oils, and so forth, was money absolutely well spent and time absolutely well spent, because you have primed the pump, if you will, for your child's brain and nervous system to heal. But that's what we must absolutely reveal right in the beginning, the middle, and through every minute of this episode. And if I'm being honest, it's the one thing we're going to talk about on every single episode, period, with the Experience Miracles podcast. All of this chronic sickness, these chronic challenges in our kiddos, not just the obvious neurological stuff like autism, ADHD, anxiety, and seizures, but even the less obvious stuff like chronic gut issues, constipation, diarrhea, eczema, and autoimmune challenges. Everything starts with the nervous system. When we break down again on this episode what we call the perfect storm, and you learn that stress on your child's brain and nervous system actually showed up first, before the gut got wrecked, before the microbiome got out of balance, before their immune system became sensitive and pro-inflammatory. There is a sequence that we now know unequivocally, positively. We see it in clinical practice and we see it in the research. There is a sequence that gets our kids sick, which means there's something that starts it in the first place. And once we know exactly to the T, in order, very specific order, what caused our kids to get sick, we then know exactly what to do in order, in sequence, and first to get our kids healthy. And that's the absolute hidden in plain sight secret I can't wait to share with you on this deep dive episode, because that's the key to helping our children fully, completely, optimally heal from chronic health issues. We can't skip one of the things in that mix, and we can't just approach it all at once in an accumulation sort of direction. We need to actually be specific about the sequence and the batting order, as I like to call it, I'm a big baseball fan, that it takes to get a child healthy and well and healing once again. And because the sickness, I'll just say it one more time, I'm intentionally being a broken record here, because the sequence of sickness and the perfect storm began at a certain place and goes in a certain order, we have to dig that deep and address the body and the brain and the nervous system's dysfunction and dysregulation at its deepest level, and start there first to get everything else back in order and functioning once again. And I know that once you got done with the conventional medical system and the conventional pediatrician, which just blames genetics and bad luck and does a multitude of different labs and exams and doesn't really find anything, I know it's exciting when you run those heavy metal panels and you run that deep biomedical, functional, integrative blood work and allergy testing and all those things. Because now, as you learn and you see these reports and you get into these consultations about all these chemicals that are stuck in your child's body and all of these essential things like maybe magnesium and so forth that are low or deficient or depleted in your child's body, from a chemical perspective, from a physiological perspective, it's exciting to go, there it is. There's too much of that. There's too many of those chemicals, too many of those toxins. Let's get them out of there. And then you can also look at the other part of the paperwork and go, that's too low. We need more of that. Let's get it in there. Supplementation, diet changes, and so forth. And man, like I said already once or twice or three times already, that is awesome. That is necessary. That is incredible for healing from chronic health issues. but it doesn't directly, or as I like to say, as potently heal the nervous system. And the nervous system is where the storm actually began for your kiddo. Yes, the nervous system does not like toxins. And yes, the nervous system needs proper nutrients, neurotransmitters, and so forth to do its job. So we've got to get good building blocks in to rebuild the nervous system. But what if you've already done all that? What if you've already gone after those toxins and tried to get them out of the body and they just won't? What if you've already tried to add all the good food and the good macros and the good protein and the good keto and the good carnivore and the good paleo and the good oleo, all the O's together, and you're trying to get good stuff into your child's body and it just doesn't seem to take? Or their sensory issues are so stinking bad that they refuse to eat healthy foods. They can't digest healthy fats and proteins. They can't swallow all those supplements. What if this looks good on paper? What if this looks great in the Facebook group, but it's impossible in the reality of your home every single day because your child's nervous system is so sympathetic dominant, so wound up and so stuck and shut down that you can't get good things in? I could go on and on just on this introduction, but I want to get into the thick of this episode and teach you the one thing that millions of families don't yet know about that is the thing that started the storm, that started the cycle to chronic illness, that first got your child's gut, microbiome, and immune system off track. There is something deeper, and the coolest thing ever is we're going to be able to keep it wildly simple and straightforward, which is my promise to you on every episode of this podcast. I can go toe-to-toe with every microbiome, biomedical, functional, integrative expert out there because I was one, or I guess you could technically say is one. That's real great English right there for a podcast host. I built one of the first functional medicine, if you will. I don't really love that name because I'm not using the word medicine in a vacuum is not my favorite way to approach things because it comes with this treatment, stuff down symptoms mentality, chasing symptoms instead of healing from the root cause. But 15 plus years ago, I was in the front row of all of these seminars and reading all of this research and putting all of that biomedical, functional, integrative, holistic, natural, whatever word you want to call it, I have done it. We built one of the first centers here outside of Chicago, and we did it all. We did hair analysis. We did stool analysis. We did lab work. We tested for heavy metals. And from that, we did detoxes. We did vitamins. We did supplements. We did herbs. We did homeopathics. We did sensory motor integrative therapies. We did visual vision therapy. We did brain-based movement therapies. We did everything for every child struggling with autism and these chronic neurological issues. And here's what I need you to hear the most. We did it all at once because my training told me everything all at once is the problem. So you need to take this just scorch the earth mentality and say, we must do everything all at once. All these diet changes, all these detoxes, all these supplements, all these movement-based therapies, all these adjustments, all of this all at once. And here's what no other practitioner besides maybe me is going to tell you. I went all into that world like you've never seen a doctor do and built this center, built this practice on those foundational principles, if you will, that all the things are the problem. So we must address all the things all at once for these kids. And what happened is the further I went in and the more I added to the protocols, if you will, the worse our clinical results got, the more kids plateaued. And there was eventually a tipping point where the more biomedical I did, the more functional medical stuff we did in our practice, in addition to neurologically focused chiropractic adjustments, kids actually started to regress. We would see their sensory issues that maybe had tamed down and cleared out with the adjustments come back. We would see their sleep challenges and their gut issues not just kind of clear out, but take different forms and almost dig in deeper. And so right in the first 3 to 5 years of my practice, I was like you. So mom and dad, I took the same path you did. I was literally following the same suit you probably feel like you have. Everything I learned that could help a child, I did it instantly. And I did it all together all at once because that's just where our heart leads us. It's as natural and it's as awesome and it's as normal as can be. You've probably done it as a parent. You've probably got other practitioners who are doing it right now. And I did it as a practitioner who just wanted to learn how to help and then instantly, entirely do everything I could. But you've probably heard this saying before, there is such thing as too much of a good thing. And I think that phrase fits today's podcast episode. But more importantly, I want to really teach you about the sequence of what causes a child to get sick. Because once you know that in its very specific order, then we can reorder and reorganize our plan of attack, our clinical protocols to get your child healthy once again. And I know this because I'm still in practice today, and I don't do all of that stuff anymore. When needed, we refer out, collaborate, and put in the appropriate order. I can't say that enough with other practitioners because it does take all the things to get your child better. But it takes all the things in a specific batting order, in a specific sequence. And so here's the exciting news for so many of you families listening into this episode right now. You're going to find exactly what needs to be done to get your child so much better with their healing and their quality of life. And it's probably going to math out that for a lot of you, right now, you need to do less, not more. You get to back off or kind of what we call put on the shelf or hit pause on certain things. Or another phrase I use all the time, sorry, I'm overphrasing this here, but it's such an important conversation that no one else is having with your families. But a lot of times we need to slow down to speed up healing, and we need to make room for real root neurological healing. So getting into the brainstem, getting into the vagus nerve, getting into the central autonomic and sensory nervous system, and letting that heal, restore, and regulate first. Now, is that system connected to the gut? Yes, but it controls the gut first. Is the nervous system connected to the immune system? Yes, but it controls and modulates the immune system. So the way God designed our bodies, our children, from a neurophysiological health, development, building perspective, we need to know that because we need to apply it in the same order to get kids healthy again. The order with which they were designed to become healthy, become adaptable, become regulated is the order we need to apply the clinical care protocols, including different endeavors or different care options. And it may look like and sound like, and I promise you in your heart, feel like if I just do everything all at once, as much as I can and as fast as I can, I'll get more healing, bigger healing, faster healing for my child. But I got to tell you, and I get to tell you, in reality, in clinical experience, which I've got at a level that few doctors on, most doctors just do their one thing and that's it. And I've done everything in practice. So the reason that we call this the Experience Miracles podcast is we have so often, and we don't just read about it in research and scientific studies, we are about it in clinical practice. And I'm going to use my experience here from those few years where our results got worse the more we did, not better, to reveal to you exactly the missing cheat code and secret key, if you will, that I promise you this is going to make perfect sense. It is going to be almost so simple and so straightforward. You're going to say, why the heck did no one tell me this yet? And that's why I want you to also share the heck out of this podcast episode. 15 years ago, when I got started, I felt like the number one thing I just needed to scream from the mountaintops is you're not going to get all the answers and all the healing you're looking for in the conventional medical system. And the world wasn't quite aware of that yet 15 years ago. They didn't know anything about neurologically focused chiropractic, biomedical, natural, integrative, functional, diet changes, detoxes, supplements, vitamins, and so forth. And so I was so excited to get all that information out to the world. Well, now I'm crazy excited to be launching and running this podcast in the thick of this massive movement towards natural health, towards integrative, towards helping our children heal naturally with these things. But there's still something missing. That's why so many kids are struggling even after their parents have done everything, cleaned up everything, and added everything, and their nervous system is still stressed. It's still dysregulated. It's still out of balance. And that's what we're going to address. That's what we're going to help you find the evidence of, is this my child? And then most importantly, once it makes sense, and the moment that for any of you, you go, dang, this is us. This is my story. This is my child. This is what I need to almost kind of redo and reorganize to get them better, or it'll seem like an addition, and it is, but it's got to move all the way to the front to get maximum results. And when we get you there, I promise you, we'll get you connected to the doctors. We'll get you connected to the resources that get this healing happening in the right order, in sequence, and therefore in full. Optimal recovery for your child requires this sequence, perfect storm conversation. So again, I can't wait for you to have this. I can't wait to hear feedback from you of saying, son of a gun, that's our story. And I can't wait to get your child moving in the right direction, in the right order. So let's get into the thick of this episode. All right, so let's talk about gluten. Let's talk about glyphosate. Let's talk about dairy. Let's talk about every single toxin under the sun that we could talk about and put it under the same umbrella here. What's going on when your child is dealing with chronic stomach pains, chronic constipation? Maybe it's a mix of constipation and diarrhea. You can look at, maybe they have skin rashes, because once there's eczema and skin issues, it's a sure sign that the gut and the immune system, and really what we're going to call the neuro-gastro-immune system, yep, here we're in the thick of it now, it's nerd time. The neurogut, the neuroimmune system, if it can't get those crud, can't get junk out of the body in the way it's designed to, through gut, through poop, honestly, well, then it'll use the skin to get it out that way. So many families, the vast majority of families we meet whose children are dealing with autism, with ADHD, with sensory, and honestly, even stuff like anxiety and seizures. So these very neuro-brain-based conditions, those kids are also 80 to 90% of them, if not more, are dealing with chronic gut and immune issues. And that goes for teenagers and young adults as well. To get their brain better, we absolutely do need to get their body better. And I'm going to start that simple. The brain and the body are connected together. The brain is constantly, 100% of the time, receiving sensory input from the body. And when we break down the body, get a little bit nerdier here, there's different important organ systems within the body. So there is the gut or the digestive system. There is the microbiome. There is the immune system. There is the endocrine system. And then there's the motor system. So muscles. Big muscles are called gross motor system. Little muscles are called fine motor system. What we see all the time is the vast majority of kids dealing with chronic neurological issues and chronic health issues, period. They don't just have one of those systems dysfunctioning and not doing well. They have pretty much what we like to call multi-systems problems. That's your first hidden in plain sight secret. When your child has multiple systems not functioning and you've done multiple things in the natural health world to try and get it better, that's a sure sign that the one system that controls, coordinates, modulates, and organizes all those other systems, the nervous system, is offline, dysregulated, and what we call subluxated. So that's where you can start to really figure this out for your kiddo. If you are dealing with a multitude of things with their gross motor, their fine motor, their sensory processing, their behavior, their emotions, their gut, their immune system, and those things are all aggregated together, there's only one thing that really ties all those together, and that's the nervous system. But it can be so confusing. When I talk about hidden in plain sight, you may still be seeing that, hearing that, feeling that differently, because you're like, well, no. If it's a gut issue, and every time I give my child these foods, if they do have gluten, if they do have dairy, if they do get red dye number 40, we pay dearly for it. We have all sorts of behavior, emotional reactions. Absolutely. That's why this simple conversation can actually be quite confusing and intricate, because the gut is connected to the brain. And especially when the microbiome and the gut, when there's leaky gut, dysbiosis and these things, now the gut is more open to let toxins into the bloodstream and get into the brain. But what folks are, and even some of the best practitioners in the world are not yet fully understanding and explaining to parents is there something even deeper that caused the gut, caused the immune system, caused the microbiome to get so off track, so leaky, so ticked off, so dysbiotic, kind of making up words as we go here, in the first place? Because this is a real conversation that not a lot of people are having, and it starts with this statement. Toxins aren't new. Gluten's not new. Grains aren't new. Dairy's not new. And our parents grew up not only house and grains, house and cow's milk, but they grew up with lead paint and asbestos and chemicals everywhere. So how is this explosion in chronic health issues in kids only connected to toxins and things in our diet or our environment when those have been around for 3, if not 4 to 5 generations since the Industrial Revolution? Now, this is a conversation I wasn't having in my own brain as I sat through all of those seminars and I learned all about those toxins. That's bad. Those toxins that we get in our food, get rid of them. Those toxins that are in all of our household cleaners and dishwasher and laundry detergent and everything, everywhere, you name it, get rid of them. Those toxins that are often injected into kids, don't do them. Stop that. And we have, and we do. Our home is chemical free. Our foods are chemical free. And my kids are chemical free. But they're also nervous system dysfunction and stress free to everything we can do. So I'm going to continue to have this conversation with you on this episode with 2 parallel tracks going together. Toxins aren't good. Chemicals aren't good. And there is more of them in different foods, preservatives, and there's more of them. The more often you go to the pediatrician for those supposed well baby visits, there is more toxic exposure than ever before. But the difference isn't as much as there's more stress on our kids' nervous systems than ever before. So if you've looked at this and gone, well, it's clearly diet, it's clearly toxins because my kid's gut is a mess and digestive health has to do with diet, you're absolutely right. But what if you've done it all? What if you've already kicked butt there and your child still struggles? So through process of elimination, pun intended. Okay, that's my only neuro dad joke through, did I say only? I shouldn't make that promise because we're probably about halfway, maybe a little over halfway to this episode. And if you've listened to any, you know that I have really nerdy neurological jokes. Like I got science jokes, and then I got dad jokes. And I put them together sometimes, and you know, every now and again, a mom will say, "I heard that joke. That joke was funny." So if you like these jokes, you know, and you leave a review on Apple or Spotify, if you would go ahead and mention, "Hey, this information is awesome. I love learning about science and how to." But if you feel very, you know, if these dad jokes are helping your healing, because humor is healing, and you love them too, go ahead and sneak that in to the review. I love reading those. Okay, so a little bit of an intermission joke / request inside this one. Okay. Process of elimination. You could actually use that term to figure out what we're talking about today because it's really painfully, awesomely obvious. If you have done it all, if you have made all those diet changes, done all the detoxes, added all the supplements, and your child's gut, immune system, brain and nervous system are still a mess, well, then you know for sure that something is missing. That deductive reasoning goes, and you know it. Your mom and dad gut, before you rolled into this episode, you knew it. You're more frustrated than ever before because it's absolutely just exhausting to do all this stuff for your kiddo and not see the full, complete healing you've been praying for, searching for, and hoping for. And so it almost guarantees, when I take a case history, which is now today, the vast majority of my case histories, parents have not only ditched and packed up and left the conventional medical system long ago because they know they weren't going to get answers, they weren't going to get results, they weren't going to have doctors who really listen to them and work with them in that world, so they ditched it. They're out of there. They went deep into the functional holistic medical world. That's my case history today. 80 to 90% of the patients we take in today, with everything from autism to epilepsy to asthma to allergies, they have, when we ask, we have a part of our paperwork that asks, give me all the biomedical, give me all the supplements, give me all the things you're doing naturally, holistically, biomedically to help your child. Most parents, I'd say about half the parents coming into our practice will actually attach an additional document to the paperwork to show us all the supplements, vitamins, essential oils, and therapies that they are doing to help their child. That is awesome. I need you to make sure you don't miss me saying that throughout this podcast episode, because this can be a sensitive one. This can be an emotional one as well, because it did feel so right to do all that. And it is so right. And it is so important to do all that. And by doing that, before you get started with neurologically focused chiropractic care, you will have a child whose healing pathways are much more clean, open, and ready to kick ASS. I mean that. The fact that you've done all these things already is the coolest, bestest, most awesome thing I could ever experience in my career. Because in the past, if you played this out, in the past, not only did we have to help that child with neurologically focused chiropractic care, which is the one thing that gets to the first thing that causes the storm, and I'm going there next, but then we had to help them with all the other things. So my job, I'm just being honest, my job 15 years ago was harder, because I needed to not only get chiropractic into your guys' life, getting real, actual root cause neurological healing into your guys' life, but then we felt like inside our own shop, we had to do all this other stuff as well. Thankfully, awesomely, in the last 15 years, there's not only so many online resources, but hopefully you've got a local functional doctor. You've got a local biomedical integrative practitioner who you can trust to continue to kick butt. And they should be excited to hear this conversation as well, because healing should happen in partnership first with parents and their doctors, and healing should absolutely happen in collaboration with your practitioners. I am the biggest fan of collaborative care ever, because I'm a practitioner who tried to do it all myself back in the day and bring all these providers under one roof. And I saw the good in it and I saw the not good in it. So now, with absolute clarity and conviction, we know how to line the ducks up and say, hey, for 9,200 days, we're going to focus solely, almost exclusively on this part of your child's healing journey. And once we cross this milestone, once we see this happen, bam, now we're going to pull this off the shelf. We're going to add this in. Now we're going to get into PT. We're going to get results out of it. Now we're going to get into OT, where you were plateaued before, and see results with it. Now we're going to go back to speech therapy, where you were plateaued or getting slow results before, and we're going to get maximum results out of it. Now we're going to get into the detox, and your child's nervous system is so much less stressed that their gut and their immune system is functioning so much better, because gut function depends on nervous system function more so than the other way around. And immune system depends on nervous system function more so than the other way around as well. So once your child, I'm already cart before the horse, once your child experiences real, actual root cause neurological healing, all the other healing endeavors and options start to work better as well. But I think I just skipped a couple of sections on my outline. So let's go back to this deeper understanding of why the nervous system matters most. I can't say it any other way than how God designed it. The nervous system is the boss. It controls and regulates everything. One of the favorite people I've ever learned from, Dr. Bruce Lipton, a world-renowned cellular biologist, used to teach at Stanford Medical School, and he's just the pioneer of epigenetics. He states it this way: the function of the nervous system is to perceive the environment and coordinate the behavior of all other cells. Now, let's not stay in nerdy cellular biologist and neurological chiropractor land. Let's make it simple for parents. All other cells, when you put cells together, that means all organ systems. So the function of the nervous system is to perceive the environment and coordinate the gut, the immune system, the muscles, and the endocrine system. And so when the nervous system is not properly perceiving and coordinating, so it's not properly regulated and functioning, even if, there's a big word in that sentence, there's a big word in that description from Dr. Lipton, environment, even if you've improved the environment entirely. Because the function of the nervous system is to perceive, adapt to, respond to the environment. And so if you take that sentence, you take this quote or description of how the nervous system works, and you put it into two sides of the coin, there is that. The one side of the coin is, how is the nervous system working internally? And the other side of the coin is, what about the environment, the external environment, which ends up internal? And so the function of the nervous system, when we say environment, we can talk about internal environment, the microbiome, the gut, and so forth. And we can talk about how the external environment could get in and wreak havoc on the internal environment. And the nervous system would perceive that. And that would cause problems with all other cells, all other systems, including the brain and the nervous system itself. So again, I'll say it one more time. What if you cleaned up that side of the coin? What if you can trust that the environment is clean? What if you could trust that the environment is healthy, but yet the nervous system's sensory perception, coordination, function, and behavior is not online, not where you want it? Well, that again, through process of elimination, reveals that nervous system dysfunction is that side of the coin, is the real root cause. So nervous system dysregulation, dysfunction in our world goes by a bunch of different terms that kind of, for the most part, mean the same thing. Nervous system dysregulation, dysfunction is similar and very connected to another term called dysautonomia. Dysautonomia is a term I absolutely do want you to Google, okay? Dysautonomia means the autonomic nervous system, which controls the gut, the immune system, and the body sensory receptive system. The autonomic and central nervous system gets out of balance. That's dysautonomia. The number one trigger that no one else, any other practitioner is talking about that gets that happening, dysregulation, dysfunction, and dysautonomia, is something called subluxation, which triggers sympathetic dominance. Now, that was a bunch of nerd words all ripped off together there. Subluxation is a chiropractic, neurologically focused chiropractic word that means stress stuck on. When your child is subluxated, it shifts the nervous system first into sympathetic dominance. Second, that then causes dysregulation and dysfunction within the gut, within the immune system, within motor tone and coordination, and eventually then behavior, emotion, social, and communication, because the nervous system controls all other systems and cells. And then the third layer of this subluxation and neurological storm that can happen for kids with chronic issues is they become exhausted. They become completely depleted. And when a child's nervous system reaches what we call stage 3 of subluxation, and they're completely exhausted, they're completely shut down, and they're completely depleted, that is a child who will, by terminology, have what's called regressive autism, or that's when all of a sudden there was no anxiety and then it showed up. There was no seizures and then it showed up. There was no autoimmune condition and then it showed up. For most kids, almost all, really kind of all, the sickness, the diagnosis, the challenge, the condition, the day you found out about it, so to speak, it had been brewing all along. Because the original triggers of this neurological storm, subluxation, and nervous system dysfunction go all the way back to what's called maternal distress. High stress, high risk pregnancies, because the nervous system of mom, if stressed, if wound up, if high cortisol, high inflammation, that is passed through the umbilical cord, the electrical cord, the neurological nervous system connection cord from mom to baby. Now baby's nervous system is shifted early in its most critical or sensitive periods of development into this fight or flight mode, and nerves that fire together wire together. A baby's developing nervous system in utero, first moments of life, first years of life, is its most plastic, sensitive, developmental window to say whatever I'm exposed to in the environment, I'm going to become hardwired towards. In today's world, do we have a ton of toxicity and a ton of chemicals everywhere we look? Yes. But sadly, unfortunately, the only freaking thing that outpoints in a negative direction, chemicals and toxins in today's world, is absolute the highest levels of stress, anxiety, tension, exhaustion, depression ever. Neurologically, stress-wise, we are the sickest because of the most stressed population ever. And that is the one thing that has shifted more significantly in the last generation or two than toxins and any other sort of conversation we can have in this world. And that's why that is the conversation about subluxation, about sympathetic dominance, about neurological dysregulation we will have on every single podcast episode here. Because when it comes to gut issues and immune issues, just to finish this last science explanation, when your child's nervous system goes into fight or flight, and especially if that happened early on, high stress pregnancies, I forgot to mention the second trigger, the biggest trigger, by far, hidden in plain sight, birth interventions, forceps, vacuum, induction, C-section, epidural, breech position, cord wrapped. These are physically and chemically and emotionally stressful things that happen in the most critical moment of life as a child's nervous system goes from being connected to moms to running its own. And so when the nervous system enters into this world in a very traumatic, high intervention, high stress way, it only knows high stress, high sympathetic dominance, and it gets stuck there. Subluxation means stress stuck on. And the first place that the nervous system will steal energy when stuck in fight or flight sympathetic survival mode is from the gut. The second place that the nervous system will steal energy from when it's in sympathetic dominance, fight or flight survival mode is the immune system. And I can teach this to you for our last chapter here using the old walking in the woods and a bear jumps out in front of you. Your nervous system is wildly intelligent instantly, and it will shift immediately, entirely, and fully into sympathetic dominance to either fight or flight. I guess if we use the bear analogy, I think you're supposed to freeze and play dead. I don't know. Not a big camper, right? Camping is, I already made one bad life decision with buying goats. I'm not going to make another bad life decision and go sleep in the middle of the woods where a bear can eat my family. Okay, but back on track. That might be my final dad joke, might not, okay? So if we're trying to teach neurology through this bear analogy, and I can't not make a joke, but fight, flight, or freeze, but your nervous system then shifts all other cells, all other energy resources to deal with the bear in that moment. So it's not going to digest the sandwich you had at the campsite. It's going to stop digestive motility instantly. It's literally going to shut down the gut because the gut takes a ton of energy. So when your child's nervous system is stuck in fight or flight, all the energy in their nervous system is stuck there. That's why it comes out there, behavior, hyperactivity, stimming, and sensory issues. All the nervous system is stuck in the nervous system. All the energy is stuck in the nervous system so it doesn't get to the gut. And then also, your body is preparing for a wound. It's intelligent. You're about to fight a bear or run through the woods. And so your body's the nervous system changes the function of the immune system to be ready for battle. Not the flu, not the cold, not strep. And so the reason your child gets sick from anything and everything always and is never actually healthy, one cold turns into one winter of chronic illness and multiple antibiotics and inhalers and corticosteroids and Zyrtec and Singulair and so forth, is because their nervous system is jacked up, sympathetic dominant first. So the bear analogy, as simple as it is, and a perfect opportunity for a dad joke to say, don't go camping. It's not good for you. I'll do a whole episode. What if I do a whole satire series on here where I just kind of, have fun on that? Okay, back on track. So the nervous system is the boss, and it's wildly intelligent. And that can work against the health of your child. And we'll kind of finish it off there. If your child's nervous system is stuck in sympathetic dominance, fight or flight, dysregulation, and subluxation, you're never going to get the gut back online until you get their nervous system back online. There is no supplement and there is no diet change potent enough to get the nervous system fully, entirely out of sympathetic dominance. There is no supplement that will stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system and the vagus nerve, which is what we need to activate to get it out of sympathetic dominance. And so no matter how much you try and rebuild the gut, the microbiome, and address inflammation, you can't in full until you address nervous system dysfunction, subluxation, and sympathetic dominance directly. We must get the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic system adjusted, activated, and stimulated, and get your child's nervous system out of fight or flight first to get the gut to fully heal. We must get your child's sympathetic fight or flight nervous system to shut down, their parasympathetic vagus nerve system, the healing, digesting, anti-inflammatory, social emotional regulation side of the nervous system. We must stimulate it. We must activate it. We must adjust it and get it back online to get your child's immune system back online and get their inflammation in check. We must get the nervous system back regulated, back functioning to get the endocrine system to be back in balance. Cortisol, epinephrine, adrenaline, serotonin, dopamine, because they all work for the nervous system. They are literally called neurotransmitters. So if we try and alter them with medications or try and alter them with supplements and herbs, that is swimming upstream, not going to the root cause. The nervous system is the boss of all other systems. If you've been doing PT, OT, speech, and you're trying to get the neuromotor tone and coordination to calm, strengthen, regulate, balance, you can't get it all the way there until you get the nervous system all the way there. That little 60-second run, that little clip, whatever I did right there, that will tell you everything I've been trying to get across with this very important for your child, for your family, for your hope, for your answers, and for your drug-free help. That explains everything. And so that might also teach us that I could do podcasts in 60 seconds instead of 60 minutes, but I like to expand upon a few things as we go along, okay? So those two triggers, high-stress pregnancy and physical birth intervention, they kick in instantly for infants: subluxation, sympathetic dominance, dysautonomia, and nervous system dysregulation. What does that look like in an infant? Exactly what you knew all along was more trouble than, don't worry, they'll grow out of it. That looks like difficulty nursing, difficulty latching, and difficulty digesting. So that's reflux, that's upset stomach, that's colic, that's crying. That's a baby who is constantly uncomfortable, inconsolable, and arching and moving their neck and spine to try and literally, when a baby does that, which almost all colicky babies do, they are literally trying to get this physical subluxation, misalignment, tension from their neurospinal system, their neck and their spine, where physical birth trauma sets up shop. They're trying to get it out. The spine is the direct conduit to the sensory central autonomic nervous system. The vagus nerve leaves the brainstem and comes down through the neck and the thorax. And the vagus nerve is the brake pedal. The vagus nerve is our healing, digesting, immune system regulating, anti-inflammatory access point we must get to. And it becomes subluxated. It becomes interfered with via these physical injuries at birth. And it's clear in an infant who can't turn their head, torticollis, plagiocephaly, there is literal physical evidence of this trouble brewing in infants the majority of the time, and the pediatrician misses it and dismisses it. And from there, it doesn't go away. We just call it something different. Kids don't grow out of colic. They grow into tantrums. They grow into meltdowns. They grow into gross motor delays. They grow into fine motor issues, sensory issues, speech delays, behavior, and emotional dysregulation challenges. Medically, they just call it something different, but neurologically, physiologically, it has the same root cause: an overstressed, dysregulated, out of balance, sympathetic dominant nervous system. There is one catch-all chiropractic term for that, and it's called subluxation. And subluxation is the one thing we've been talking about this whole time that is hidden in plain sight and starts the perfect storm off first. So even if you've done all the movement-based therapies, all the diet changes, all the supplements, and all the vitamins, you're barking up the right tree and you're getting to the branches, you're getting to the trunk. But to get to the roots, we've got to get to the central autonomic nervous system, the brain, the brainstem, and the vagus nerve. Nothing else out there gets there as directly and as potently as neurologically focused chiropractic adjustments. What these adjustments do is a very specialized, different kind of chiropractic than a standard spinal chiropractor. Now, those chiropractors are awesome. Those chiropractors are all over your town. Those chiropractors help people with back pain and neck pain and musculoskeletal issues, and that's awesome because that's way better than drugs and surgery and opioids. But this kind of nervous system-focused family chiropractor is the exact chiropractor your family needs to find today. If you've tried everything, gone all the way down the road of functional, integrative, biomedical care, and your child is still struggling, some, medium, or a lot, you need a nervous system-focused PX chiropractor on your team because the nervous system controls digestive absorption, assimilation, and elimination. So most kids I see clinically today, even with perfect diets and $1,000 worth of supplements to support their gut and immune system, still can't poop regularly, still can't absorb good nutrients, still can't get good nourishment into their brain and into their body where they need it because their neuro, gastro, immune system, motility, absorption, assimilation, and elimination pathway neurologically is messed up. The gut will not heal properly and fully and completely until the nervous system heals first. And so it may seem like as we close this episode down that for you, you're finding this last. That's okay. That's why we started this podcast. That's why I will never shut up about this conversation right here and talk about the sequence and the batting order and the nervous system and subluxation and the perfect storm to the day God takes me up to heaven, because it may show up as the last thing that your family has tried on the seemingly long list of things out there. But I promise you this, when you move it to the front of the line and you make it the priority right now, starting today, go to our directory, hit the link. I'm going to be more forward pushing or whatever the word is with this one than ever before, because if this episode resonated with you fully, then I have, through process of elimination, the greatest confidence, clarity, and conviction ever that chiropractic is the key. Neurologically focused pediatric and family chiropractic is the key to unlock your child's healing at a level that nothing else has yet or can ever. And when you do, when you reorder or reorganize your child's kind of healing plan, and you put this first, and you commit to this over the next many months, maybe it's years for your kiddo. I don't know exactly what they're going through. Often we say, and by the way, I said months to years there. When it's done right, you see the gut get back online. You see sleep get back online. You see their immune system get back online. You actually see the body heal in the order we talked about all throughout the episode. When we start to make neurologically focused adjustments, the first thing that a child responds with is rest. Sleep improves because they need to heal. The next thing that improves is digestive motility, absorption, elimination. They actually start to get a neuro detox with their gut and their immune system. And so these core systems of the body that we talked about in detail with this episode come back online through adjustments, often more potently and more fully than through supplements and diet changes, because so often they were neurogenic or caused by nervous system stress in the first place. So the last thing I need to leave you with is not just the link to get connected to the doctor, but what are you going to get when you get there? The number one thing you need for your child to find out if this is what's going on, if nervous system dysfunction, dysregulation, and subluxation was the hidden in plain sight answer to your child's healing, you got to get a set of what are called neurological insight scans. Now, they do exactly what their name says. They look inside the neurophysiological system and they find that stress. They find subluxation, nervous system dysfunction, dysregulation, and dysautonomia. You're going to get what are called thermal scans. Thermal scans are crazy important for gut immune issues because they're going to show dysfunction or dysautonomia in the nerves that control gut, immune, and endocrine function. The thermal scan is going to give your PX doctor, your nervous system focused chiropractor, the exact data they need to know, hey, this is going on. We need to address this with this care plan. And it also helps target and kind of lead our adjustments and our protocols. So it's very important to get these scans. The thermal scan is the first of three. The second is the EMG. Now, the M in there stands for myo. The gut is a muscle. The gut is one big, long tract of muscles that is run on autopilot. And that neuro-gastro motility, absorption, and elimination is more dependent upon neurological function than diet. And so when the nervous system, the EMG scan, shows a lot of distortion and what are called torque patterns is probably what you're going to see on your child's scans, that will absolutely throw off gut motility, absorption, elimination, and function. And then the third scan is HRV, heart rate variability, which is a global assessment of how stressed out, worn out, and out of balance or maladaptive and non-resilient your child's nervous system just may be. Now, the coolest thing is a lot of times when a family lives healthy, when a child is dietarily supported, supplements, vitamins, essential oils, and most importantly, a lot of love, encouragement, empowerment, and support, a lot of times we'll find really healthy families. Those kids have a healthy HRV, which means they're adaptable, they're resilient, they're ready to heal, but their thermal and their EMG scan is a mess because of subluxation going through the things we talked about here today. So I'll leave it with that. First, know this. Chiropractic, this kind of chiropractic, it's not a treatment. It's not a cure. Whatever you're tuning into this podcast episode looking for help with, and it's probably a multitude of things, and you probably understand it deeper than your pediatrician, your conventional pediatrician does now, because you've got an integrative, holistic practitioner on your team who has taught you all this deep, intricate stuff about the gut-brain connection, the microbiome, and you've gone after it, and you've seen improvement, but not entire improvement. Well, we're not going to go and treat that or cure that either. There is no treatment from chiropractic to autism to ear infections to even back pain. Chiropractic is a root cause care option. The entire goal of chiropractic is to improve the function of the nervous system with a series of adjustments called a care plan, a neurological reorganization and restoration care plan. Those are the exact words we use in our offices because it describes exactly what we talked about on this podcast episode, that to get full healing, first you've got to get the nervous system healing first and foremost. And to get it to heal, you've got to release tension on the sympathetic nervous system and then reorganize and restore it. There's a really great article. I'll have the team link in the show notes that it describes how these scans work and gives you images of those. There's a really great article that will talk about the 3 R's of neurological healing and the sequence of healing that we're talking about here today. So if this episode gave you the desire to move forward and learn more, but you're not quite ready to go ahead and make that appointment and get started. You want to learn more. You want to understand it even better than my full deep episode here today. Click the link on those show notes or click the link in our bio here from the podcast player and go to the website and read those articles. They will help significantly to give you a full and complete understanding of how neurologically focused chiropractic care can help your child. And I'll close this down with that, which is the title of the episode, I do believe, to get complete healing, to get complete and full healing, optimal gut healing, immune system healing, endocrine system healing, and to get the most amount of results from all of this incredible lifestyle change, diet changes, detoxes, supplements, and therapies you have invested your time and your money in. There is one magic key, and I'm going to use that funky word, one massive hidden in plain sight, incredible key that will unlock and be the catalyst to incredible levels of healing that you've been searching for, been praying for, and been hoping for this whole time. I am so dang glad you held on to your last hope card. I am so glad you found this podcast. Some friend sent you this podcast. Somehow we found you. Because this sequence conversation, this batting order conversation today, when there's been an awesome explosion of information about functional, integrative, diet changes, detoxes, natural, holistic healing, I feel strongly with conviction that this is the most important conversation I can get to parents because it speaks right to the heart of our biggest frustration, which is we've already done it all. What could possibly be left? This neurologically focused pediatric chiropractic. And that means someone else just like you feels the same and lives the same right now. They've got that counter full of thousands of dollars of supplements. They've got that calendar full of ABA, PT, OT, speech, and biomedical appointments here, there, and everywhere. They've tried to detox, chelate, and get things out, get toxins out of their kid's brain and body, and they can't get it done yet because their child is likely still subluxated, sympathetic dominant, and locked into the perfect storm. Please share this episode with at least one other mom, one other dad, one other practitioner who you know is fully in this life just the same. That's my final request. Along with you, please subscribe, please follow. This is just one of tons of awesome interviews. We always go back and forth. We have not only deep dive episodes like this, where I give just full tilt the way God made me, and I go deep into the science of a certain condition or a certain conversation, and we go deep into it, but we simplify it and make it actionable as well. And then the other episodes, 50% of the episodes, are incredible interviews with other awesome leading drug-free pediatric health experts. You'll love those too. They'll transform your family's life. And so we ask that you review it, you subscribe to it, and you share the heck out of it, because these are the answers. This is the hope, answers, explanations, and drug-free help that I know millions of you have been up late at night searching for. And I am so thankful to God for bringing us here to bring it to you. We'll see you on the next one.